Summer House Season 10, Episode 12, Boys of Summer, When the Fun Fades and the Truth Comes Out. If there's one thing Summer House has always been good at, it's disguising real-life relationship problems under tequila shots, themed parties, and late-night kitchen gossip. But in Season 10, Episode 12, Boys of Summer, that disguise starts to slip. What we get instead is an episode that feels less like a carefree Hamptons escape and more like a reality check wrapped in messy behavior, bruised egos, and emotional side eyes. This episode doesn't just show us what happens when the boys take center stage, it shows us what happens when the women stop ignoring it. The boys are bonding, but at what cost? Let's start with the obvious. This episode puts the spotlight on the men of the house. And honestly, it's not their best look. What starts as harmless guide time slowly turns into a masterclass in immaturity, deflection, and ego-driven conversations. The guys are laughing, joking, and hyping each other up, but underneath all that is a pattern we've seen before. Avoiding accountability, minimizing their partner's feelings, acting single, while very much not being single. There's a certain comfort they have with each other that becomes dangerous. Because instead of calling each other out, they're validating behavior that's clearly causing issues in their relationships. It's giving, "Bro, you're not wrong." When in fact, "Yes, sir, you are." And the problem, that energy doesn't stay in the guy's circle. It spills over into the house, and the women feel it immediately. When fun turns into frustration. The beauty of Summer House is watching how quickly things shift. One minute it's drinks and dancing, the next it's tension you can cut with a butter knife. In this episode, that shift is constant. There's a noticeable disconnect between how the men think things are going and how the women actually feel. While the guys are operating like everything is light and casual, their partners are sitting there like, "Are we even in the same relationship?" And that's where the frustration builds. Because it's not just about one argument or one bad night, it's about patterns. Repeated behavior. The same conversations happening over and over again with no real change. The emotional labor is getting heavy. Let's talk about something real, emotional labor. This episode quietly highlights how much of it the women are carrying. They're explaining their feelings, trying to communicate clearly, giving chances, again and again. Meanwhile, some of the men are doing the bare minimum, if that. You can see the exhaustion setting in. Not just anger, but that deeper feeling of, "I'm tired of having to teach you how to treat me." And once someone reaches that point, the relationship is already on thin ice. The girls' conversations, where the real truth lies. If you really want to understand what's happening in the house, you don't watch the parties, you watch the girl talks. Because that's where the truth comes out. This episode is full of those quiet and not so quiet conversations where the women are checking in with each other, asking the real questions. Are you actually happy? Do you feel respected? What are you getting out of this? And here's the thing, these aren't just casual chats. These are mini interventions. You can feel the concern, the frustration, the realization that some of these relationships might not be as solid as they once seemed. And let's be honest, sometimes it takes your friends pointing something out for you to finally see it clearly. One-sided effort is starting to show. There's a recurring theme throughout the episode, imbalance. Some relationships are starting to look very one-sided, and it's becoming impossible to ignore. One person is trying to communicate, the other is shutting down. One person is investing emotionally, the other is keeping things surface level. One person is thinking long-term, the other is still in summer fling mode. And that mismatch, it creates tension that doesn't go away just because you throw another party. At some point, someone has to ask, what are we actually doing here? The party scene, fun on the surface, chaos underneath. Of course, it wouldn't be Summer House without a party. And on the surface, everything looks like it should. Drinks flowing, music blasting, everyone dressed up and ready to have a good time. But if you look a little closer, the vibe is off. There are side eyes, awkward interactions, conversations that feel forced, and that underlying tension that says, something's about to go left. And while it may not explode into a full-blown screaming match right away, you can feel the buildup. Because unresolved issues don't disappear, they wait for the right moment to come out. Communication breakdown, talking versus actually hearing. One of the most frustrating parts of this episode is watching how communication keeps missing the mark. People are talking, a lot, actually. But are they listening? Not really. There's a difference between responding and understanding, and too many of the conversations in this episode fall into that first category. People are quick to defend themselves, quick to explain their intentions, but slow to actually sit with what their partner is saying. And that's where things fall apart. Because you can't fix a problem you're not willing to fully acknowledge. The turning point. When doubt creeps in. Every relationship has that moment, the one where doubt starts to creep in. This episode feels like that moment for multiple couples. You can see it in their faces. In the way they talk to each other. In the pauses between conversations. It's no longer just, we're having a rough weekend. It's becoming, is this actually working? And once that question enters the chat, it changes everything. The bigger picture. What this episode is really about. On the surface, Boys of Summer is about the guys, their behavior, their friendships, their dynamics. But underneath that, it's really about something deeper. Growth versus stagnation. Some people in the house are evolving. They're thinking about their future, their needs, their boundaries. Others, they're still stuck in the same patterns, doing the same things, expecting different results. And when those two mindsets collide, you get exactly what we saw in this episode. Frustration, misalignment, and relationships that feel like they're running out of time. Let's be real, the men are getting exposed. This episode didn't just highlight the guys, it exposed them. Not in a dramatic, over-the-top way, but in a subtle, undeniable way that makes you look at them differently. Because it's one thing to make mistakes. It's another to keep repeating them, avoid taking responsibility, and expect your partner to just deal with it. And the women, they're starting to see it for what it is. My final thoughts. The summer is cooling down, fast. Boys of Summer feels like the beginning of the end of the carefree vibe this season started with. The parties are still happening. The drinks are still flowing. But the energy, it's changing. Because now, feelings are involved, expectations are being questioned, and people are starting to realize that not everything can be fixed with a good time and a quick apology. This episode is a reminder that even in a house built for fun, real-life issues don't stay outside. They come in, they sit down, and eventually, they demand to be addressed. The question we're left with. As we move forward in the season, one thing is clear. Not everyone is going to make it out of this summer the same way they came in. So the real question is, right finger, who's going to step up, grow, and fix what's broken? Right finger, and who's going to keep playing games until it all falls apart? Because if this episode proved anything, the boys might be having their summer, but the consequences are coming right behind it.